WWE Bad Blood 2024 review. The Rock returns, ladies and gentlemen. So does Jimmy Uso. Will we get Gunther versus Goldberg? Raquel Rodriguez helps Liv Morgan retain the Women's World Championship. And we've got a new championship that's going to be introduced for Crown Jewel. So much to talk about and much, much more. I'm joined in the hot seat by one and only Mr. NX Steve. And your thoughts overall of Bad Blood 2024?
This is by far the worst pay-per-view Triple H has put on to date.
Whoa.
This is, if I can summarize this is Raw 1000. This is a Raw special quality pay-per-view. This was garbage apart from the first match and basically the ending to every other match.
Interesting. I wouldn't go that far. I thought this was actually a pretty decent show overall. I think there was a couple of booking holes that have been placed in this card somewhere, but we can discuss those as we go through. But obviously, Hell in a Cell match was fantastic. I think that's a given. But after that, it was 4 matches with all run-ins after that. So I would agree, there's copy and paste in a lot of the booking. But we've got some major returns, which you could... Yes, I suppose you've got some major returns on one show. You could argue, perhaps, has WWE blown their load in one lot, or have we just been given so much that we should just be spoiled and enjoy it?
The reason why I say Raw 1000 is what did they do before and after every match? Oh, look at all the Hall of Famers that are here. It's a Raw reunion tour. That's all they do on Raw reunions is bring back a load of Hall of Famers. Why did they pan so much to Hall of Famers during this point? This is what I couldn't understand about this show. Like, at no point did it feel special about being a pay-per-view. It just felt like, oh, here's DDP, here's Arn Anderson, here's Tully Blanchard, here's Goldberg, here's X-Pac, here's Jacqueline. It's like, who cares, man? It's a pay-per-view. That's something you do for a TV special. Like, honestly, this generally felt really, and like you said, 4 run-ins as well, 4 run-ins on a pay-per-view card. I'm sorry, this is generally Triple H's worst pay-per-view to date.
Interesting. I'm looking forward to diving backwards and forwards with you on this one. It's going to be interesting. But yeah, I mean, with the Legends, just quickly to sum that up quickly, from my understanding, is that Triple H wants a nod to the Legends. We're going to start seeing Legends more frequently on premium live events, almost of a nod to the past and acknowledge who they are. Like we've seen people like Jacqueline, for example, who signed Legends deals with the company, sort of just to get them around, also to get them in the locker rooms as well, to talk about to the younger talent, share a bit of wealth of that knowledge and stuff like that with the younger people of today. So I think that's pretty much what they're based of, is just to get a pop from the crowd. Obviously, they have a lot on a Legends deal after all, so they're actually using that time and having some worth to that contract. And like I say, sharing some valuable knowledge to the talent as well. So it does have its pros, but I can understand that maybe it does have its cons as well, maybe taking up a lot of the TV time. But hey, I'd have got involved with that party that Jade, Bianca, and Naomi had hosted in that top bunker. I don't know about you.
No, I did not care for it. It's a Raw moment. Do you know what? And in fact, I was annoyed at the fact that they brought up Chelsea Green and the fact that she still stunk of garbage. And I was like, do you know what? I cannot wait till she wins a world title because she's going to get a massive pop. But I get it, like it's supposed to be funny, but I don't care. And then to have a Triple H segment in the middle of this show, I don't care. This is a Raw 1000 pay-per-view. It's horrible. I'm sorry, I'm going to keep saying it.
Well, then we better move on then in the meantime. We better get to the comments because, we don't want to rinse and repeat.
Sorry, just before we even go on to the comments, why did no one tell me that the start time had changed? There's me expecting it to start at 1 o'clock. No, 11 o'clock for my time. I'm sorry, I didn't tune in till 11:45 because I was going to try and catch the kickoff show. Turns out I've missed the first match completely. And I'm like, I'm sorry, that's normally something that gets advertised as well.
I only watched SmackDown today, and they did have it on the bottom ticker part of the screen at one point. That was the time I noticed it. But I mean, yeah, that would be the moment.
And normally, do you know what I mean? When they do this stuff as well, because obviously they started early because they didn't want it to coincide with UFC something 7, whatever the number is. I was like, fine, I get that. But normally that's something they badger on about because they want to make sure that viewers tune in for it. I tuned in and I've missed the best match of the night because I'm 45 minutes late to watching the show. Clowns.
Did you watch it afterwards?
I did, obviously. I watched it back this morning. But the point was, I caught the end of the match, and I'm like, oh, well, I know the result now. So I was kind of like, do you know what I mean? I was like, okay, I'll see how good this match is, I suppose.
We're going to try and
Not good
cheer NXT up as the show goes on. We're going to do our best to, but let's get into the comments anyway. CD says the Crown Jewel Championship will mean nothing. I have no idea why they even credited it. It's like the greatest Royal Rumble Championship. Well, NXT, I mean, you did bring this up already. You've given me the artwork. Here it is. Yeah, I think that's particularly what it could be, but it's going to look prettier than that.
The belt is very nice. Like, I do like the look of it. But the problem is the color that they add to it. So that green is tainted with Saudi money. And the fact that it's got crown jewel plaster on it, it just ruins that belt automatically. It automatically goes down as one of the worst. And the fact that it's very similar to the AEW Women's World Championship as well. There you go. Found that off Twitter as well. It was like, that's just essentially a copy and paste. And I was like, it's something dude, there's so many titles we're crying for, like a women's mid card, and we're stuck with a title that we're going to see once a year, if we ever see it again after this point.
Well, I will be honest. I was expecting this could be the moment for the women's mid card championships, despite it being a crown jewel. Whatever you want to put into that, you may. I thought we were going to get one of them for the show, but it turns out that it was this. It pretty much is Survivor Series in the late tens being brought back. It's kind of like your Raw champion versus your SmackDown champion. All that's missing is a 5-on-5 elimination match, and we've got Survivor Series and Crown Jewel.
But does that mean that the whole parenthesis of Survivor Series or Clash of Champions no longer exists now, because this is what this Crown Jewel tournament's going to be about? It's going to be what's the mystique in it? Like, or like, what's the point of doing something like the Survivor Series 5-on-5 match when Crown Jewel has this moniker on it now, where it's going to be champion versus champion? I genuinely think it's lazy booking, because in 4 weeks' time, and we've already got 2 of the matches announced, and they're all right. Don't get me wrong, why they may be very good matches, there's nothing on the line except for a title that we're not going to see for another year. Like, do you know what I mean? I find it's just very lazy creative.
It is if you're a soccer fan, football, for those that really want to give it its proper name, it's like the Charity Shield. That's pretty much what it is.
Yeah.
It's a charity.
It's a winner of one cup and a winner of another versus, and it's just them in the charity match. This is what this is. This is a charity wrestling match, essentially.
Technically, but we look like we could be getting, hopefully, Cody versus Goldberg. Jesus, I've seen the next comment. We could be getting Cody versus Gunther on that show, and I'm not gonna lie, I think that's a match that I'm quite excited to see, and I think that would be pretty darn good.
It will be very good. Problem is, it's in front of the wrong crowd, because although the crowd will probably appreciate it, a US crowd or a European crowd would have appreciated that match much more. And I think that's why I'm kind of underwhelmed by it, because it's like you're going to have these two at the top of their game athletes in a match where the crowd are just going to kind of be like, yeah, we're here because, it's in Saudi Arabia. Like, there's no diehards. Do you know what I mean? There's no diehard fans. Like, when was the last time Saudi Arabia came out with a fan chant? Do you know what I mean? It's a very generic wrestling crowd, unfortunately. And I think that's why it's wasted on them.
I think that as well. This is why also this is a gimmick championship to try and get them more involved. I think that this is something that they will probably find interesting. Maybe not as interesting for the rest of us, but if it works for the place of where you're going to and it gets them more hyped into it, and therefore it might be a better presentation on TV, therefore we might get more into it watching it. I think that there is method to the madness, even if I don't necessarily think, oh, that's exciting, because I also think the other reason they brought this championship in is because they're trying to delay storylines that are meant for WrestleMania now. Like, they've already got their plans in place of what they want to do. If The Rock is returning on this show, if Jimmy Uso is going to be involved, that could be to do with War Games. Rock is to do with Mania. There's no two ways about it. We've got Goldberg, who could be appearing on a Saudi show. That, it's all these things that sort of coming together here on this, and it's all designed for the future. With this championship, though, I think if you're doing a Raw versus SmackDown World Champions for men and the women, you're basically saying we're taking 3 or 4 weeks away from the current storyline. So we're not going to get a repeat of Rhea Ripley versus Liv Morgan unless they do it on a Raw. We're not going to get, I don't know, I guess now you could turn around and say Cody versus Roman. It's going to, instead of being Crown Jewel, which I think many would have expected, the earliest now it probably can be is probably Saturday night's main event. So they're delaying some of these big matches to a later date. I mean, this is probably, in a way, it's a clever way of delaying it. In another way, like you say, I suppose we're wasting time. It's the next few weeks, which they are usually a few difficult weeks for WWE, especially with ratings. The start of the NFL, for example, those sort of periods for WWE in October are usually quite tough. So they're trying to fill a gap in here at this particular time, and maybe it's sensible.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from, but then the other problem with that is that we've got 8 weeks until the next major pay-per-view, which is Survivor Series, and we're now going to have some stories being dragged out for 8 weeks to build to that point. Like, essentially now, the Bloodline, if it's going to be Bloodline War Games, 8 weeks we have to wait for that payoff. So we're going to get quite a lot of repetitive storytelling for 8 weeks, because Crown Jewel is, like, depending on how they book it, has nothing to do with what's going on with the weekly broadcasted product. So, like, I don't know. I mean, hell, we might even get Rock versus Roman at Crown Jewel. Do you know what I mean? That sounds like a match that could take place there, because it might, like, it kind of makes sense in terms of the storytelling and where it fits in if you're going to build towards Survivor Series. And obviously, if Cody and Gunther are still champion, we're probably not going to get Gunther versus Goldberg. We're probably not going to get Cody versus Goldberg, even though obviously it was never mentioned. I just like the idea that you said it. But yeah, hopefully they do something with this show, because at the minute, 2 or 3 matches, and they're essentially, I wouldn't even say dream matches. They're kind of just like I forget what the word is I'm trying to think of now, but it's just essentially top guy versus top guy and top woman versus top woman. And it's like, although there is some draw to it, I mean, after last night's performance, I'm not particularly looking forward to Nia Jax versus Liv Morgan, if that's how it's currently going to be.
There could always be a twist between now and then. Remember the old Survivor Series, or said the old Survivor Series, about 7 or 8 years ago? There used to always be a title change between. And if you think the current match is Nia Jax versus Liv Morgan, I think we could be in for a title switch somewhere in the next 4 weeks. And that could be exciting, depending on who it might be, because, well, maybe Tiffany cashes in Money in the Bank. Maybe Rhea finds a way to still win that title. It's going to be interesting to find out. But before we do, we might as well do this whole segment under one, because we've mentioned this championship that's come in now. Obviously, Gunther came in, and let's be fair, I loved what he said about Goldberg. You know, like, I lied, by the way. Why would be impressed by a one-trick pony? Having a dig at Gage as well, which I thought was awesome, which got Goldberg over the barricade as well. Led to the question marks, you know, are we going to get Goldberg versus Gunther? Look, CD says he doesn't have a problem with it. I put a poll on X, which I'm going to get the result for you in a second, because that result is finished. You already know it. I want to see the percentage. I know what the result is, but I need to know the percentage. But whilst I do that, I'd like to know your thoughts. Do you want to see Goldberg versus Gunther?
Yes and no. Yes, because I want Gunther to completely finish Goldberg and we never have to see him again. No, because I think Goldberg is going to win. That's my problem with that.
Really?
Dude, it's Goldberg. Like, he puts himself over regardless. He has this magical power. And bear in mind, let's not forget that, wasn't Goldberg slandering Triple H just a few months ago about booking and stuff? Like, I'm sure I saw a video today where someone, might have even been Wrestle Talk, and Ollie Davis was talking about it, like Goldberg did in an interview somewhere, that he was slandering Triple H for the booking. And now this guy's sitting ringside at a pay-per-view putting over Gunther. Like, I don't understand it. Like, I don't understand Triple H's method when someone's been slandering you. Like, hell, maybe take a leaf out of Vince's book here, and if you can draw me money, you can draw me money. But like I said, yes and no. Yes, because I want to see Gunther finish him. No, because I think Goldberg actually genuinely has a chance of winning that match.
Well, I can confirm on X, 90% said no, they do not want to see the match. I think simply it's just seeing Goldberg back in the ring. And to be honest, I kind of feel like I agree in one way, but this is what I saw. I watched the Goldberg interview with Chris Van Vliet as probably about a month ago, and he did comment on there that it was Vince McMahon who lied to him, said he would get his one more match, and he never got it. So he said he had no real personal relationship with Triple H in that interview. So maybe they've put some business together after that interview has come out, because I mean CVV has been getting some mentions, or has got at least one mention on Raw in the last couple of weeks via commentary. So I wonder if there's something there, that there is a connection, and that's what's put this together. And plus, I suppose with Saudi Arabia, for example, that's a place that Goldberg has been wrestling in before. It's an attraction-based crowd that would pop for Goldberg. Also puts in a little bit of question marks if Sami Zayn might win the championship on Raw, but we're going to discuss that at the end of the video. We're going to try and give some Raw predictions at the end of this as well. But
I think this what this spot was to do, was to highlight the Raw match tomorrow. That's what I believe it was put out there to do. Like having Sami come out and attack Gunther, it did what it needed to do to draw viewership for Raw.
It did do what it needed to do for Raw, and it's going to be interesting to see if we will get a Gunther versus Goldberg match somewhere further down the line. The only thing I will say from that Goldberg interview, he said that he was injured for the majority of that run, that he was having matches which, let's be honest, were not very good. He reckons he's in the best shape he's been in for many years. So if he's a man that's actually of honest words, I'd be happy to see him have one more match, but just one more match. And Gunther, if it was to happen, would have to win.
So I've just found the reference that Ollie Davis talks about. He talks about an interview that Goldberg done in March, where he claimed that Triple H tried to have Asuka beat Goldberg's undefeated streak because he didn't like him.
Yeah, I actually heard that quote before.
That's what I'm saying. And it's like I said, it's jarring because you hear so many conflicting things. And obviously, but dude, obviously it's WWE, and if they ring, everyone normally comes answering for me. But yeah, like I said, I'd like to see it, but like I said, I have this ultimate fear that it's Goldberg and he'll win, and I really don't want him to win, man.
No, I mean, I wouldn't want him to win either. I think if it happens, I think Gunther will win. I feel quite confident in the ring general to not let us down on that one. Anyway, a couple of comments, and we're going to get into the show itself, because we're 17 minutes in. We've not even talked about a match yet, and I think we need to do that. PS says he's a man of his word, and he was true. He said Raquel Rodriguez would return, help Liv Morgan, and that's what happened. He said it's like the bad luck Fale of New Japan's Judgment Day as an enforcer. That'll be Raquel. Now, Dom has two mummies now. Love that comment indeed.
Look, I just need to make a note here. The people need to tune into our prediction show, because I'm pretty sure I predicted that Rhea Ripley was going to win via DQ before Pierre even brought up the whole Raquel Rodriguez thing. So we do predict some things on this show that just actually happen as well.
We do indeed, but we have to give some acknowledgement to our comments as well, because to be fair, Pierre, that was a great point coming in as well. Yeah, we're not too bad on this channel. The comments sometimes are points of view as well. We do quite well. Just don't watch my War Games preview now, because apparently that's down the toilet after Bad Blood. But never
mind.
We
move on.
Never mind. We move on. Well, I think it's the best thing to move on. Let's move on to the first match of the show, then Hell in a Cell match then between Drew McIntyre and CM Punk. The one that was probably the main event for NXT by the time we watched the show, but still, it was the opening match for most of us. And to be fair, there is probably a bit of upset, probably in some ways, that this match actually kicked off the show. But at the same time, what a bloody good match it was. Obviously, both men bleeding. There was all sorts of weapons involved. The table was involved. The chair was involved. The toolbox was involved. The spanner, a wrench as well. I've been singing Foo Fighters all evening. It was a fun old time. Both men were busted wide open as well. Obviously, Punk being thrown into the cell, and obviously with the toolboxes what opened Drew as well. I love the use of the table being upside down onto that, because it was like, instead of having the hardest part of the ring, it's like the worst part of the table to actually using as a weapon. But Drew seemed to get the advantage for quite a bit of it. Obviously hit his Claymore, Punk kicked out, Punk hit his GTS, and obviously Drew got out the ring as well. But there was a moment where Drew looked like he finally was going to dominate, despite the fact that the referee was trying to get the towel to wipe the blood off his face, which he kept pushing away. He decided to get in a big bag into the ring, which I thought was going to be thumbtacks, but instead it was all like bits that would make the bracelets of what CM Punk had. And obviously it's Drew getting in Drew's head once again, because Drew has this match won. He goes running to a Claymore one more time, instead misses, goes into these steel steps. And to be fair, it looks really brutal by the camera angle out as well. It's given the way his back hits them steps. Punk then wraps like a steel chain around his knee, hits the GTS, gets the 1, 2, 3, and picks up the victory. Oxygen mask and all at the end of it, wants to call his wife. Great sell job here from both men, and looks like it should be the closure of the feud. CM Punk picks up the dub.
You say that, but you never know with these two. But yeah, I mean, a lot of people already banging on like this is like top 2 Hell in a Cell matches ever. And like, bearing in mind, we've just done the Mount Rushmore of Hell in a Cell matches. This doesn't break top 5 for me. Of my Mount Rushmore and my honorable mentions that I did talk about, this maybe gets in at like number 6. Like, this is good. This is really good. Like, the fact that it starts off very wrestling based and like it's kind of like, let's just put each other through hell, essentially. They do everything necessary. Like you said, they both get busted open. They pay homage to Brett and Austin by doing a sharpshooter with Drew just pouring blood out the front of his face. Like you said, that toolbox shot is great. It's a deep cut because he is like honestly flowing some blood at that point. But then we get to the story. Like, you bring the beads, and like obviously this is the point where we're like, okay, this is the story part of this wrestling match, and it's fantastic the way that he doesn't necessarily try to use the beads like thumbtacks, which I was kind of disappointed. But then you get onto the point where like Punk's sitting there scooping them up, and he sticks them in Drew's mouth just before he delivers the GTS. It's a beautifully crafted story. He oversells the falling over once the match is over. But otherwise, I do thoroughly enjoy this. And like I said, I think I booked this show right myself in watching it this morning instead of last night. But then having this as my main event, because this was great, man. It was a really good, well-constructed Hell in a Cell match. And I think if I'd have obviously seen this last night and watched it first, I think I'd have been more excited for the rest of the show. But unfortunately, it doesn't go that way for me.
Just checking that you are there. Now, I don't know if I've broke up or you broke up there. It was just a moment.
No.
It just froze for a second. But no, I mean, I thought this was a fantastic match. It is the match of the night. It's the best one. It's a 5-star match. I did debate it myself of like whether it should be 5 stars or whether it should just be just less. But it's class from start to finish. It's like you say, great story that builds up. It's violence. It's got, great story beats into it as well. It's just everything that Hell in a Cell is based around. It culminates perfectly into what a feud should be. And I don't know, just the nostalgia feel of Bad Blood and everything. I was having a good time sitting there watching it. So for me, this one was a fantastic opener. For me, it's the right winner as well. I know you said that you feel like you can't guarantee it's definitely finished, but I think they need a way to find a way that this is concluded. Now, these two can collide again, but I would say save it for like an elimination chamber match or something like that. Don't just do another one-on-one. They need to have a break now, because like we've seen them at each other's throats now for the first 10 months of the year, almost a candy if you class from when CM Punk returned. But yeah, for me, this was brilliant stuff. Some, like I say, a couple of really good spots. I didn't even mention the table spot. I absolutely love the table spot that Drew actually suplexed CM Punk from the apron. It was very well executed, and actually looked really safe in the way that you could just see Drew was looking over his shoulder, make sure they hit it correctly, and they just both hit the table in a perfect spot as well. So yeah, awesome stuff all around from me.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not going to disagree with you. I thought it was really good. I'm not going to go as high as 5 stars if that's what you're giving it. I've gone with a 4. I think it was really good, but there were some points at the start where I'm kind of like, okay, it's kind of lagging a little bit. But once they start getting into the nitty gritty and they start doing the hard, heavy stuff, it works a lot better for me. But apart from, like I said, maybe 1 or 2 uses of throwing each other into the cell, I think the lack in the use of the lack in the use of the cell itself kind of lets me down a little bit, which is why I'm not going to give it 5 stars.
That's fair. I mean, to be honest, I think the perfect cell match is when they do find a way out of the cell. But in a way, like I think that sort of gimmick is done very frequently and very often. It's like how many
Yeah.
times do we have to see someone get thrown off the top of the cell now because they want to mimic the mankind spot? Do you know what I mean? It's like so. I kind of like in a way they kept it in there because it was what it's supposed to be. You're supposed to be locked in, and it did feel like hell. And I think that's always a good
Yeah.
component for the match. We did the watch on for Shawn Michaels and the Undertaker, which let's be fair, it's particularly hell for Shawn Michaels. It's not as much hell for Undertaker until Kane comes in, but it's like you can really feel that, like, Jesus, this is gonna have a toll on the body tomorrow, like, and you felt that way for these two. So for me, I don't know, the art of professional wrestling was very well done in this match for me, and I think that's why I've decided to go the full way. There was a point I was tempted if it should be, but it's just scratched the surface of the 5 for me.
Yeah, no, I understand that. Yeah, like I said, I couldn't give it that marking just on the basis that, dude, we've literally, again, like I said, we've just done our Mount Rushmores of Hell in the Cell, and 3 of my 4 Mount Rushmore matches all use the steel cages or the cell itself in better ways. Even one of the matches where they don't get out, I'm like, they still dynamically use the cell a lot better, which is why it doesn't make it in the top 4 for me. I don't know about yourself and how you ranked your Mount Rushmores, but it still is a very good match.
Yeah, it's not in the Mount Rushmore for me, but I think you were kind of right around the figure. Probably top 6, maybe top 7. It's definitely in the top 10 of all time. There's been about 53 of them now, I believe commentary said. So that's the spot that I would have it from there. And we'll go into a couple of comments, and then we're going to move on then to the mid card, and then we'll go to the comments, and then we'll go to the main event. I think that's the best way to do this, but CD thought that the show was actually full of botches. He said you had Nia Jax botching a lot, and he had Raquel Rodriguez thinking the match was still going on when putting Liv Morgan on Rhea Ripley. Yeah, there was a couple of some of the negatives, I suppose, that come from the show there. NXT was speaking facts. I was annoyed when they were showing legends. Focus on now, not the past. I guess we can stick to SCW Rewind is probably the time then, Nate.
Exactly. That's what we do them for. To talk about the legends in their previous matches.
Absolutely. Do you think Dominik Mysterio is going to get jealous eventually when Raquel Rodriguez does a better job of helping Liv Morgan retain the Women's World Championship? That's a fantastic question from CD.
This actually a really good shout. I don't know, because obviously I have my own fantasy booking ideas in my head. I like the idea of it, and maybe it causes a rift between them, but watch this space. But I do like it, CD. It is a good shout.
What if it actually ends up to the point that when Liv loses the championship, that she's the one kicked to the curb and it's Dirty Dom and Raquel?
Oh, dude, there's way to do, man. That's almost soap opera esque at this point, man. It's kind of like, how many times are you going to chop and change relationships in the WWE? You're going back to NWO, WCW days here with how many people are chopping and changing.
Well, I mean, this is Dominik Mysterio's love life. He's the bad boy in WWE. He found a way out of that shark cage. He knew what he was doing. He picked the lock. You could tell this guy's done time before.
No, dude, don't get me started on that. Please do not get me started on that, because I'm already jarred about that. Very jarred about Harry escaped the cell.
Let's move on in the meantime. Then we're going to go, because we want to get to that match when you can actually really have a go at it properly. So let's go then to Nia Jax versus Bayley. Nia Jax versus Bayley then for the WWE Women's Championship. Obviously, yeah, there was a couple of botches in this match, almost like me hit me microphone as well. Nia Jax attempting the Hurricane Runner didn't quite go to plan, yes. But what I did admit, though, I did like the fact that Nia actually tried different things. I like the fact that she actually tried to use submission-based wrestling as well early in the match. Right. I think that there's a bit of props. You are trying to improve yourself as a wrestler, trying to elevate. And who knows, if they tried that spot on a different occasion, that Hurricane spot, and it worked, and they probably went, right, let's do it here, and it just didn't connect tonight. It's a shame if that's the case. But yeah, I would agree that this match wasn't perfect in that case. But all in all, I think this really took its turn, really, when it took to the moment where obviously the referee got the splash from Nia inadvertently. And that was when Tiffany Stratton came down, obviously, because Nia was put out by Bayley. There was a visible freak out there. Tiffany came out and hit Bayley with the Money in the Bank. Then came the moment of whether she should cash in or not. Of course, so the referee had come back round, had the briefcase in her hand. That's when Nia Jax decided to become the Undertaker and sit up there at that moment. I thought it was done really, really well. I actually really enjoyed that moment because Tiffany again is then worried about what Nia's thinking, and I wasn't going to do it. But of course, it looks like she was going to do it. But from this moment onwards, obviously, Tiffany makes sure that Nia gets the job done, distracting Bayley on the top rope. That's when we get a Samoan drop then from the second rope from Nia Jax, followed by the finishing move, the bonsai drop, which I believe it's called the Annihilator now. Yes, which give Nia that victory. For me, look, I know that people are going to go on the botches of this match, but I think story beat narrative, I thought this match actually was done really, really well.
So to start with some positives, like you said, the fact that Nia is trying submission moves, my first note that I made was, who the F is this Nia Jax? Because I was like, this is great. Like, stuff we've never seen her do before. But then I got the impression that she seemed like she was blown up, like she was out of gas. Like, she just like, dude, she hits a Samoan drop, you know, because she's Samoan. Bayley hits a better Samoan drop on her. I'm like, what is going on with this match? It's so confusing. The ending of this match was the best part. I thought that, like you said, the botched Hurricanrana, dude, we've seen them done many a times. I'm impressed that a woman of Nia's size is even trying to do stuff like that. Let's be honest, I'll give her props for that. But yeah, I just felt this was very sloppy. I thought Bayley carried Nia through most of it, because it was like Bayley was the only, like, I don't know, I honestly felt like Nia was just out of gas the whole match. Like, she was blown up, like almost like, you know, Ultimate Warrior used to run to the ring and then like he was knackered before the match even started. It's like that impression I got with Nia Jax. It was like she was just tired and fatigued the whole way through. But then, like you said, you get to the Tiffany Stratton part, the will she, won't she, Nia doing her best Kane impression, sit up, or Undertaker impression, like sitting up, and then, you know, the whole, just to finish himself, like, but not for Nia to then just hit a really good Samoan drop off the top rope, followed by the Annihilator and get the win. I thought the ending was the best part, but otherwise, I was not impressed by this match at all.
No, that's fair. I mean, the thing is, I think I judged a lot of it based on what we get getting out of the match. Like, obviously, I can think about match quality, but I've seen a million great matches. I've seen a million bad matches. I want to know if I'm still invested in the story coming out of it. And I think that's sometimes a lot of how I judge the matches these days. And I also appreciate people trying things out, even if it doesn't quite materialize. So I think that's where I stand on it. But yeah, executingly, is this the best match we've seen? No. Is it the best match that Bayley and Nia has ever had? No. I did think it was actually okay at the first 5 minutes where you could make that comparison, but once some of the botches kicked in, no. But like I said, the ending of the match, like you say, is very well executed. That's very well done, and I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes next. Obviously, I think there will be the time that Tiffany will attempt to cash in on Nia, because that's the way they're playing the story out. It's just going to be a matter of when, not if.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what everyone's just waiting for now, because even when her music hits, she gets a massive pop from the crowd. I mean, I see stuff online, like people are actually hoping that she's the first failed cash-in attempt, and I'm like, that's insane. That woman is gonna, do you know what I mean? She's gonna be massive when she finally wins that title. So, it's like I said, I'm still invested in the whole Tiffany Stratton bit. The fact that this Bayley story is done, my only thing now is I'm like, who is meant to be next for Nia? I know obviously at the minute she's supposed to be facing Liv at Crown Jewel. Like, are we really going to get a cash in within the next 4 weeks? I don't know. This is what I'm kind of intrigued about.
I'm excited to see where they go with it. And like you say, we could get cash in, we might not. We might find ourselves with Bianca or Jade or even Naomi getting into the mix. We'll have to wait and see what happens, because Naomi was the one next in line if it wasn't for Bayley. So maybe it's Naomi's time. We'll have to wait and see. But your final, give a quick star rating for this match then, and we'll move on.
2.5. I thought it was, like I said, the ending really helped this match.
Yeah, 2.5, I think, is a fair reflection. I will give the same there. Shout out to Noob and Co, by the way, who's joined us in the comments. Hope you're doing well, Noob. But we'll move on in the meantime to match number 3, which was, of course, Damian Priest versus Finn Balor. It doesn't matter if the Judgment Day helps you or not, Finn. You're not walking away with a victory on pay-per-view. We knew how this was going to play out. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, this was a very physical match. And as expected, yeah, the Judgment Day get involved. Finn Balor does hit the the coup de grace and actually doesn't get the pinfall attempt. Does two more of them. One of them on the back of Finn's. It looks to be on back of Damian's head, neck, and then next time it looked like he sort of just fell to the ground, so didn't fully execute. But either way, on the second attempt of the South of Heaven, Damian Priest did pick up the pinfall victory and did overcome 3 members of the Judgment Day in process. Feels like that WWE are reluctant to let the Terror Twins lose at this point, but I think it was the right result. I think Damian should have got the win here.
I mean, I saw a comparison online earlier. At this point, Finn Balor is essentially Dolph Ziggler, and is kind of just like the best jobber on the card, and like he's just there to put over other people. And I just think it's criminal. This match was okay. The only thing I really liked was the end when Finn Balor obviously started doing them coup de grace, like you said, to the back of the head, showing some almost different forms of aggression when trying to hit them. And I was like, I could appreciate that. But otherwise, for me, it was very one-sided. Like, just Priest just dominated the whole match, really. Even when like the numbers game was like against him, he still ends up overcoming the odds and winning. And I was just like, it just feels like another Monday Night Raw match to me. It was like, it's the same thing we've seen every week for the last, I don't even know how long now.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a very good comparison with the Dolph Ziggler, and Noob says it as well. This says modern Dolph Ziggler as well. And look, we think we should accept Finn Balor ain't becoming world champion. His booking has been bad this year. I mean, obviously, he's still a world tag team champion at the minute. But what I would say is that if you look at Finn Balor over the years, yeah, I would agree. He's not world champion. He's someone that's going to be there to put over other talent. I think his time of seeing him as a main event talent is past, but he's someone that doesn't seem to get hurt, in my opinion, despite the losses, because he has this like niche area on the card. He's like your AJ Styles. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're not going to fall to like the curtain jerker, but he's not going to be the main event guy either now. So that's kind of what I see with Finn Balor as well. But I did feel when Finn Balor was hitting all his finishing moves in different variations, like Finn has to win this match, but then he still lost. It was like, yeah. When I see that he's not going to be world champion again, it's like, yeah. And he's not winning this feud either. They might find a way to drag this out further, but at this particular moment, I don't see how Finn and Damian Priest makes it all the way to WrestleMania. So I think Priest will be doing something different come to the big show next year.
No, I mean, I'm intrigued to find out now what you think I was going to complain about with this match. Like you said before we started, you said I was going to bring up one thing specific about this. What would that one thing be?
I thought it was the fact that Finn hit so many of his finishes in different variations and Damian Priest still won.
Like I said, it's just what I expected. It's what's been on it's what's been on TV for the last couple of weeks. So no matter what the Judgment Day can do, Damian Priest is still being made to look like the biggest obstacle that no one can. Like, the numbers game just doesn't work, unfortunately. And like, at some point, that story. Well, for me personally, that story is getting old very quickly, and like, I'm sick of seeing 3 guys get out. Bearing in mind, 2 of them are your tag team champions. So what does that do to your tag team division when one guy is beating up 3 others and 2 of them are tag champs?
Does it make? I'm going to play devil's advocate because I kind of agree with you, but I want to play devil's advocate just for the fun of it, though. Is it the right booking move, though, if Damian Priest is meant to be your top guy moving forward? You're grooming him to be or the top guy of Monday Night Raw or SmackDown in the future, and he is someone who's had a world championship run for a few months. He's now lost that title. To make sure it doesn't fall down the pecking order, you have him remaining and looking strong and presented as if still he's the top guy. Does that make it better in your eyes, or does it make it worse?
Not really, because in my eyes, you're almost painting him like John Cena at this point. John Cena was exactly the same. John Cena would get win after win after win, regardless whether he was champion or not. And it's kind of like it's futile booking anyone in a storyline with Priest at the minute, because Priest is going to inevitably win. And what does that do for the other guy? Nothing, because you're just going to lose. So what's the point? No one is gaining anything from this except Priest, and he's not exactly in the world title scene. Hell, that might be the way they go for Survivor Series. Who knows? But it's a match we've already seen and done. And there's enough people on that roster that you want to see be given a chance between now and Survivor Series. So I don't know. But like I said, in the minute, he's being booked like John Cena. It's like lol, Damian Priest wins at the minute.
Fair play. I mean, CD says there Priest literally no soul Balor's move there at that point as well. And I mean, look, I'm Damian. I'm a Damian Priest fan. I'm going to
I
stick my
am.
neck out and say that I think I think it was the right move he won on this show, despite the fact that he had the numbers disadvantage. But I would have liked, despite winning, the Judgment Day to have walked out looking strong. I'd have liked to have seen a further beatdown or something just to give the Judgment Day something. But like you said, there's too many weeks where they're walking away with nothing. For me, it's not Priest that's looking like dominant Cena. It's more like the Judgment Day are looking more like the Job Squad.
Yeah, essentially, like they are essentially a group of mid-carders that are there. Like, how many times did we see JD McDonough take losses before he ended up winning a tag team title? Can't remember the last time I actually saw him in a one-on-one style match now. But yeah, like I said, you're not doing any good for your tag team titles because these guys are getting beaten up every week by one guy. Their booking seems to have just gone completely 180 since they split them up.
Does seem to be that way, unfortunately. It just seems to be the way. Without Rhea and without Damian, this group is just not as strong. But your star rating anyway for Priest versus Balor?
2.25. I thought the ending made it slightly better than a normal TV match.
I'm going to give it a 3. I actually really enjoyed the physicality at the start of the match, and despite having the run in and the way that the match finished, and I don't know, I bought in the fact that Balor should have won. So yeah, I give it a slightly higher rating, but at the same time, poor Finn hits his best move 3 times and still gets the choke slam and loses. So
yeah,
maybe better luck next time, buddy.
Yeah. Never mind.
Let's move on to Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley then. Obviously, Dominik Mysterio was in that shark cage. We can just jump to the shark cage, really, because not really too much of note happens beforehand. I like the fact that Liv Morgan's got a name for one of her moves now on Rhea Ripley, which is the home wrecker. I thought that was kind of a nice creative nugget that's come in there to use one of your moves and say what you're doing. I loved the entrance, by the way, of the video package before we got Dom and Liv's entrance. I thought that was really fun. Yeah, I mean, obviously, Dom is above the ring in the aisleway in this shark cage, and in true Dom fashion, he manages to pick the lock, gets the door open, distracts Rhea Ripley as she's about to hit a frog splash. At one point, though, does not like seeing Liv Morgan get completely destroyed on the outside. I hope that's not my explanation that's sending you to sleep.
No.
The
idea of this match.
The riptide is hit then to Liv on the floor. That's when Dom sort of tries to reach out to help, and instead he falls out the shark cage with his leg trapped, obviously. It must be handcuffed as well with the legs there, so he's hanging upside down. Rhea Ripley has the match won. There's a ref cam, so she says to the ref on ref cam, I'm going to come back for this in a minute, but I've got some unfinished business in the our way. And the ref says, you've earned that. Nice to show the impartialness of the referee. So she grabs a kendo stick. Dominik's hanging like a pinata, and he actually gets whacked about several thousand times before we see Raquel Rodriguez come and attack Rhea from behind.
Is Dom being a pinata culturally inappropriate?
Well, they actually give a different reference.
It's true. They
do.
They
give a different reference.
Everyone afterwards, yeah. I was like, go on.
If I've offended anybody, I do apologize deeply. That's not what I'm intending to do. I'm just trying to give you a view. I'm not allowed to show footage on this channel because when we did try to, we got copyrighted. So I want to try and give as good a visual as possible. And if I cannot remember the reference they've made, I will do my best in another way. It could have been anyone hanging upside down. I would have used the pinata phrase.
You're spot on. You're spot on. They didn't actually say it. It's just the idea that it implies that it's a Mexican wrestler's child. Do you know what I mean? He has Mexican heritage that is hanging from a cage, and she's beating him with a kendo stick, commonly associated like you would do with a pinata. And I'm like, this is kind of wrong in some ways. And I'm like, But anyway.
Well, it was rescued anyway, and I'm going to try and rescue this segment now. Raquel did attack Rhea from behind. The referee noticed this and rung the bell quite a while later. This was allowed to continue on where Raquel could actually land a power slam or power bomb, I should say. This is me trying to rescue this segment with a power bomb.
I'm not blaming you for calling him a pinata. I was just generally phrasing that him being Mexican or Mexican wrestler's kid. And like everyone online has called him a pinata, and I'm like, is it culturally insensitive? Do you know what I mean? Like, is there a woke culture that would be like, you can't call it a piñata because he's like of Mexican heritage. Do you know what I mean?
I think because WWE didn't, I don't think it can be. I don't think it can be, but maybe that's
I think
the thought they put
the
online.
internet wrestling community is probably the woke, but needs to be woke.
Needs to be, but they're an interesting bunch anyway. They can find problems of anything. To be fair, so I tend to not pay so much attention to them these days.
Dude, I wouldn't worry. I called him a piñata as well, so it's all good.
Anyway, I agree with a comment we had earlier on in the stream. Liv Morgan was put on top despite the bell already being rung. Should the bell have been rung? I mean, obviously it should have been rung because it was done in front of the referee, but was this something just a bit of a mix-up? Like, I don't know, because the referee didn't seem bothered to ring the bell for quite a while.
It's almost like Raquel Rodriguez has forgotten how live TV works, if I'm honest. And I think she'd forgotten how the rules of a wrestling match had worked. And it was kind of like, oh, they've rung the bell. I'll put her on top anyway, even though she can't get... It's like she'd forgot it was just a normal match and not a no DQ match, I think. But, dude, this match for me, I agree with what you said. I thought the intro package for Dom was very good, although at some points I did think it was a remote control car that was being driven down the street. Might just been the production quality, or maybe it was just me. The shameless plug for the Dirty Dom Lou roll as well. I thought the fact that Michael Cole brings up, you can get this now on www.shop.com. No. And then the first thing I noticed, as soon as that cage is lifted, I'm like, they haven't even locked the cage. And then for Michael Cole to go on later on and go, he's picked the lock. I'm sorry. No. Okay. You're not gonna try and pull the wool over my eyes with this crap by insisting that he picked the lock. It was never locked in the first place. I was like, I appreciate that the fact that they were essentially handcuffing his foot to the cage, and I was like, oh, that's good. He can't actually get out. And then like, all of a sudden, the cage opens, and I'm like, no, we're not doing this, are we? We're not doing the Dom gets out thing. And then generally, when he fell, I was like, oh my God, he's going to take a bump. And the fact that he has the chain on, and I'm like, okay, I like that. I can appreciate that. It's something new from a shark cage we've never seen before. And then after that, everything else happens, and I'm like, okay, everything that comes before that is just boring. It's a normal match. Rhea dominate Liv for the whole majority of it. Dom is in no way entertaining at all, sitting in that cage swinging backwards and forwards. He's just sitting in the corner going, yeah, come on, Liv. You can win. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, I'm bored now. It was just not entertaining at all. It's the same as the previous two matches. The ending is the best part because it's the only bit that gives you something to look forward to going forward from here. Like Raw, you're going to tune in to see how Raquel Rodriguez plays into this story now. But the match itself, like I said, is a very one-sided match. Rhea dominates for the majority of it, and obviously her own ego gets the best of her and costs her the match, which is, again, why I predicted that she would win via disqualification, because I can't see Liv losing that title at the minute. But yeah, this is why I don't think this pay-per-view was very good, because this is all stuff that we get on weekly TV. And again, I said in the preview that we did to Bad Blood, they've got to do something to make this shark cage good, because there's never been a good one, and I stand by it. There still hasn't been a very good one.
That's fair. That's fair. I mean, the thing is, for me, I think the finish is what ruins the match for me a little bit. I like the fact Raquel came in. Obviously, Pierre made mention to it into the preview that we did, and obviously, I said that once he said that, I was like, yeah, I think that's definitely going to happen. Because we've seen the murmurs about Raquel's name being mentioned for months. It's not as if it's something we haven't seen. So it's something that's been in the pipeline of fantasy bookers or speculators or reporters or whatever. And it did feel like when we heard that, well, this is the right time because Dom's out of the picture. It felt like it was the right time to bring her in. So 10 out of 10 for the fact that she came in. For me, it was just the fact that once it came in, it was actually quite poorly executed because, like, I mean, the CD brings up in the comment now, we'll bring this up here. What if the referee was the person who messed up and wasn't supposed to see the interference? I mean, that was initially how I looked at it because of the fact that he kind of turned a blind eye to it for the first 2 or 3 minutes. And all of a sudden, then the bell gets rung. It's like, well, hang on a minute. Like, is he supposed to? Because if he's supposed to have not seen it, he might as well continue to not see it and count the pinfall, or he should have seen it and rung the bell straight away. Like, it was like a very awkward, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't here.
What was the point in the ref cam if that's not what they were going to do? Because essentially, you could have had a great moment where they go, oh, let's cut to see what the ref saw. And he could have been just tending to Liv the whole time, not seeing the attack by Raquel. Raquel throws Rhea back in the ring. Liv picks up the win normally. And like, you'd have had this great thing where it's like, well, here's the ref's view. He didn't see the interference. That's why Liv won the match. But it was pointless. You did the ref cam for some shoddy little bit where Rhea just goes, oh, yeah, I'm just going to go hit the pinata a minute. I'll be back in a minute. It was pointless. You really could have done something really creative here with like some cinema. Like they've done so well in the opening match with cinematography, and they honestly dropped the ball with this one.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with everything you just said there because I actually think they would have actually played out a lot better. So, it would have been something very different and very new and very fresh. So, look, I do actually feel that the chemistry with Liv and Rhea is getting better. I actually think that their match was up until the finish was actually okay. But I would agree with the execution of the finish was not very good. However, I am intrigued to see how Raquel fits into the group. And I liked the comment that was brought up earlier on as well about the situation of what if, Dom gets jealous. I think that's actually quite a fun storyline beat you can have. There's so many things you can do with this, with these going forward as a trio and how she fits into the Judgment Day. Clearly, it's Finn Balor's phone call that was made as well. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that are pro from it, but unfortunately, in the execution, it was a bit of a minus. But star rating for it anyway.
I gave this a 2.5 again, dude. I wasn't impressed by the match. The ending for me was the most entertaining, the most intriguing part, and the fact that Dom takes what I thought was going to be a massive bump. I thought, well, to be fair, that's going to hurt taking that fall and just being caught by your foot. So I give him props for that.
Absolutely. I'm going to go for a 2.75 for me of a rating for this match. And this would have been a 3 or 3.25 had the finish had gone better, let's just say. So, bit of a minus from that. Unfortunately, with James Ellsworth, did he do a similar spot in the Shark Cage with Dirty Dom in 2018? He may have done. I don't remember. That's the honest answer. I don't remember.
I can't remember either. I don't. Do you know what? It does sound very familiar, but I can't say I remember it. I'm kind of blank out James Ellsworth.
Yeah, same a little bit as well. Noob says this is the most laughable moment seeing Dom get demoralized by Rhea Ripley while he's fearing for his life there. Clearly enjoyed that moment. And also it's time for Finn and JD to drop the tag team titles. Interesting. I wonder who'll be taking it from them. Maybe that needs a video for that, Nick Steve. But Mike as well says, just finished watching Bad Blood. Very good card. Only weak match was Liv versus Rhea. Timing fell off. Every other match was very good. It's giving it 8.5 out of 10. And it says that I need to get the title off Nia. Fans want Tiff to cash in. Also says, looks like we are getting solos at Bloodline versus Cody, Roman, Jimmy Uso, and The Rock for War Games. It's setting up 2 programs afterwards. Your thoughts on this? Well, Nick Steve is shaking his head no. I'm interested because War Games might be a bit different of my opinion to what the video I put on a couple of days ago, especially because of the fact of, did you see that Kevin Owens attacked Cody Rhodes after the show?
Yeah, I haven't actually seen the footage yet, and it's very clever how they've done it because they're trying to protect Cody with the heel turn because obviously most days now when we get a heel turn, it's not very often we get a heel turn where it's shocking or we disagree with it. Whereas they've been teasing Kevin Owens turning for ages, and it's I think what people have been crying out for. So the fact that they've done it off TV, I think, is more to protect Cody because they don't want people cheering Kevin Owens when he turns on Cody. And the fact that they haven't put out anything on their socials, it's all stuff that's just been leaked on Twitter. I think it's their way of protecting Cody Rhodes, who is obviously the champion. He's their top guy. They don't want Kevin Owens being cheered over Cody Rhodes, essentially. As for the War Games, The Rock against the Bloodline, nah, that's the wrong lineup for me, son. I think you need to put either Jay or Sami Zayn in that position.
What if? I'm just going to put a what if. This is why I think he could be onto something. There were 2 variations. I think it's best to talk about it properly at the end of the main event, but I'm going to say if this happened, The Rock turns heel on the face group and joins the other Bloodline to close the match would feel like the natural conclusion for me.
Yeah, but again, like the possibility that they might do Roman versus Rock at Saudi, it's that's the interesting part, is how we get to this scenario on screen from now. Because, yeah, like, again, we'll talk about when The Rock comes out afterwards, but it's not exactly like he made a "hi guys, I'm here to help" gesture, is it? It's kind of like he made some very alternative gestures and signaled something complete, or signaled something with a lot more intent of doing something else.
It could indeed. We're gonna touch on that in a couple of moments' time. So let's talk about the main event first itself, then, shall we? Obviously, Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns, they could coexist. They did do everything they said they would. Roman kept his word against Solo and Jacob Fatu. Great tag team match, I thought, in a way. I like the fact that obviously Cody took a lot of the beat down. The hot tag was made to Roman Reigns. We got moments of Roman versus Solo. We had some interactions with Jacob Fatu. All in all, it looked like the Roman was going to get the job done before Jacob made the save. Therefore, Cody had to make the sacrifice. There's a throwback to like the SummerSlam moment of Cody jumping, instead of Fatu jumping on Cody onto the table, it was the other way around, with Cody jumping onto Fatu on the announcer's table, with a signal to Roman of pretty much, you got this, finish this match off, taking him and Jacob out. Obviously, this was a moment then that Roman was left with Solo Sikoa, but actually it was Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa that came out to make things difficult for Roman Reigns. This is when we saw someone with a hoodie behind the Tongans, and obviously they turned around and it was revealed with a couple of super kicks to beat Jimmy Uso under there, which was great to see Jimmy make his return. He looked actually pretty jacked, to be fair, on his return, which was great to see. Big pop, big reaction. I was really happy for Jimmy for that, and because it felt like he had a real lackluster time going into WrestleMania this year under the gimmick that he had going on. So good to see a big return, big pop, big moment for him. Obviously signified as well that Roman then would get the pinfall of the spear on Solo Sikoa. That led then to after the match, where obviously the big hug with Jimmy and Roman, which was great. Obviously Roman then realizes that if we are going to get Bloodline versus Bloodline, well, he's finally got someone on his side at this moment. They go to leave the ringside way after a stare down between Roman and Cody, because obviously Cody's in Roman's way in life, which obviously signifies he does want to come for that championship once again. As they're going up the aisleway, the four members of the Bloodline attack Cody Rhodes in ring. Roman's kind of willing to leave at this point because the match is done, but Jimmy says, look, come on, let's do the right thing. You said you'd have his back, so they come back in, get rid of the new Bloodline. Of course, that's then the three of them in the ring, and obviously just as this is about to close off, the music hits and The Rock makes his return. Comes down to the comes out of the what's it called, the entrance way. He doesn't get far down. Yeah, doesn't get far down the ramp. Looks into the ring. Does the 1, 2, 3. Does a signal like that, obviously, of like probably he's going to take them all out in some way, but. There's mixed messages, I feel, with that, which we can dive into a couple of seconds. But before we go into the Rock's part of it, I'd like to know your thoughts with the match.
I'm going to say it now because the fact that you haven't mentioned it, I think, is an insult. How garbage the entrances were for the baby faces, because the music bands were horrible. They sounded crap. I was like, what is this WrestleMania-esque entrance crap? They tried playing along. They played Cody's music twice to start with because they botched that up. I thought the bands were so out of time with the music, especially the second lot that came out for Roman. They looked like they'd been rushed out. They were all panting and out of breath, and I was like, this is horrible. I was like, this is what I'm talking about, Raw 1000 production quality. Like, I was like, what? This is so unnecessary for what this match is about. This is not one of the, it's not WrestleMania. You don't need it. But anyway, had to mention it because it sucked. The match itself, I thought, was an overbooked mess, as I was expecting it to be. My issue was that they played down the hot tag by just having Cody tag in Roman normally. I felt like they could have built that a bit more and got a louder reaction for when Cody does get the hot tag the second time. I think it was wasted the first time out because it was essentially the crowd is plagiarizing towards Roman. They want Roman in this match. Jacob Fatu has a great showing as usual. Cody obviously does a great bump from the top, the actual support for the turnbuckle, which I thought the landing looked rough as anything, but props to him for doing it. Jimmy coming back, getting that great return. I'm so happy for the guy. He looked just on fire and electric and was so excited to be back. obviously, Cody and Roman win. Like you said, the beatdown. The best part for me is the character dynamic that Roman has right at the end when Jimmy is trying to persuade him to go back and help Cody, because I found that, like I said, the change in his character from being the tribal chief to now being this guy that is willing to help Cody Rhodes. Do you know what I mean? Like, he had nothing to gain from doing it, but the character arc and the way it changed, I thought was brilliant. And then to have The Rock come out, while it did what it needed to do, again, another thing I appreciate, the fact that it left you with a question as to who's he meant to be facing next. Because there was no indication if it was going to be Roman Rock, Roman Cody, Roman Jimmy at that point. So, again, it's something that I really did like. But otherwise, it was an overbooked mess, as I expected.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. I mean, I did expect shenanigans, like you said as well. You could call it overbooked. I can see the point of view of that. But for me, I thought it was very well executed, the way it was all put together. I think that it got the pops in the intended way and the intended times.
Yeah.
The Rock return in particular after the match was a big shock point of where I thought, oh God, this is like another step further. But we've seen many returns on shows before, and like I said, it depends on how you look at it. It's either people that say you've blown your load too much or in one go, or the fact that you've been spoiled and enjoy it. So I mean, I've chosen to enjoy it. I think that it's great to see we've got so many people that were away back in the mix, and it's come at a different and a right time, if you will. Obviously, with the Road to War games on the way. If you want to do Bloodline versus Bloodline, you started to put a way of where you can do it, which is great. Obviously, with Jimmy now being on side with Roman only needs one, maybe two more people on side. It could be still calling in Cody Rhodes. It may be the fact that it still involves Randy Orton. Rock could be the person that's involved to start off with. He could be saying, look, 1, 2, 3, we're going to take out the other bloodline. We need to take out, because those people are not the head of the table. That can be that scenario, what Rock is trying to say. And it's going to be very interesting what he's going to say on SmackDown. It may be the case of, look, we're the head of the family. Me and you, Roman, were the head two people. We're supposed to be the one that has the battle, not these people coming in. So it might be a case that actually Rock is actually turning around and saying, no, we need to take out this bloodline, gets in War Games, and all of a sudden it turns into WCW 1997, where literally the guy you think is on your team is actually going against you, and it becomes 5-on-3, and all of a sudden the 3 that are left in the ring don't stand a chance, and The Rock is actually declared then as actually the one who really is the tribal chief, the one that really is the head of the table, and actually Solo has just been doing the bidding for The Rock for the last little while, and now we can give Rock that piece of beautiful neckwear that can be given, and all of a sudden we are building to Roman versus Rock at WrestleMania, or we could still be building to Rock versus Cody at WrestleMania. We could even be building to a triple threat.
I'm so intrigued as to what they're planning. Like, I love the idea of a triple threat, and even just you talking about the 5-on-3 scenario of War Games. What if this then even leads to the fact that at some point down the line that Rock takes Solo out of the equation and he becomes the tribal chief and expels Solo from the new bloodline? So the fact that it's then Tama Tonga, Tongaloa, Jacob, and The Rock as the head of the table. Do you know what I mean? And see how that dynamic is. I don't really want The Rock to give up being a heel, because I'm really enjoying the character at the minute. And I think that if you go back to doing babyface Rock, it kind of gets boring. So, like I said, I really want to see more of this final boss character. The only other issue I have with Rock as well is like his schedule is unpredictable, and it's kind of like you don't know when he's going to show up next. Is he going to be on SmackDown this Friday? Is he not going to show up for another 3 weeks? Who knows? But then again, like I said at the top of the show, the fact that his gesture may indicate that they maybe do Roman Rock at Saudi Arabia, it sounds like a Saudi show. It sounds like a Saudi type match. Do you know what I mean? These two big, do you know what I mean, Hollywood movie star versus biggest name in the company. It sounds like it fits that. And again, that dynamic could also play into the War Games match that then leads into your prediction where, do you know what I mean? It's almost like Roman has to beat Rock to persuade, to almost convince Rock that what Roman done for Cody is the right thing to do. Just for then Rock to completely go against them in War Games, have it go the other way, which then leads into Rock versus Cody. And who knows? Like I said, it's going to be fun to find out with this one. Like if they finally give us something interesting to. The only, again, to contradict what you said slightly as well, is that we obviously had that showdown between Rock and Cody after Mania, where Rock is trying to make this title something. It almost feels like this is the FTW title at this point, and it's kind of like he's trying to make this title bigger than what it's supposed to be, essentially. So we're supposed to get that match at some point as well. So who knows? But I'm finally glad that they've done something to get me intrigued and back into this storyline.
Yeah, I mean, the only major thing that I would disagree with of everything you just said is that the Roman versus Rock is a Saudi match, or is the hype of it. I get what you're trying to say, the fact of like that's what the matches they present for Saudi Arabia, but anything other than a WrestleMania match is a big no-no. I can only see Rock and Roman taking place at a Mania. I think any other place to do it, if it's a crown jewel, I think it's an utter waste. I think it's if you want to make people pay $50,000 to sit in the front row of WrestleMania, Roman versus Rock can do it.
Dude, exactly the same opinions as Cody versus Gunther. It's a waste going to Saudi, but hey, they're still doing it. Oh, currently still doing it.
Currently still doing it. We're going to go on to that in a couple of seconds' time, because we will be giving a quick Raw preview for you as well. But yeah, I mean, look, CD's got some comments in here. He says, now we just need Paul Heyman back, which I think we will get at some point. I would like to see Heyman return. It just to say, if I got my way and that we had that War Games match and then the Rock turn and Roman Reigns, that would be a good time for Heyman to come back afterwards, because it's then Rock and Roman on course. But we'll wait and see if that does happen or doesn't happen. But CD says, I think we're going to get Rock versus Cody for the championship at the Royal Rumble. And then we get Roman versus Rock at WrestleMania. Feels like a massive match to do at the Rumble. Again, I see it also as a WrestleMania match. I feel like it's dragged out over the next 2 years, that one. But maybe they do everything and do a triple threat match. We'll have to wait and see. But I'd like to know your thoughts of star rating for the tag team match anyway.
I gave it a 3. I thought it was really entertaining, but again, I think they missed a couple of beats with the hot tag. I think they played it off too early. Yeah, and obviously again, it's another interrupted match, and it's a screwy finish and all that kind of stuff. But I did enjoy it, and for me, it's like the second best match on the card, so I'm not going to argue with it.
Second best match on the card, I would agree. I've given it 3.5 star. I was fine with the hot tag just purely because the match is half an hour long. I didn't need it any longer, so I think it was timed long enough. So
it would have been short if you'd have taken away the entrances.
Well, with the entrances, it was 45 minutes. I mean, like I was sitting there going, God, this is a long main event when I was doing the timing thing. So I want to make sure I was on time for the stream. So yeah, it's literally just seen everything as I've gone and got to the computer. So yeah, it's interesting. Obviously, with the KO attack afterwards, I think that leads to some interesting storytelling as well with Cody in the meantime on SmackDown. Maybe it builds to KO versus Cody one more time. Just to throw a bit of devil's advocate out there. It's not going to happen, so don't worry. But if Sammy did win the title on Raw and they did KO versus Cody on a SmackDown, just imagine if KO could win and they could do KO versus Sammy at Crown Jewel.
Don't tease me like this, man. It's something I'd want. Yeah, but that's something I want at a Mania. That would really be wasted at a Saudi show.
Well, they love Sammy. They love Sammy.
I don't care. I think that match is wasted. That if any match is wasted in front of a Saudi crowd, it's Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens. Man. That is the biggest. It's a tale of brothers essentially. It's like what Jimmy and Jay should have been this year. Do you know what I mean? Like it would be really wasted. You might be right. It might be the right match to put in Saudi because of Sami Zayn.
We'll have to wait and see what will happen. And CD. You're right. It's not going to happen. I just thought I wanted to throw it out there for fun because there is a chance that we could get KO and Sammy intertwined once again, but it's not going to happen. So don't worry. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's do what we usually do at the end of the streams, where we kind of go through our little sort of quick takes on everything. First off, your OMG moment of the night.
The the toolbox to Drew's head, and then the shot afterwards when he gets up and he's just soaked in claret like 4 seconds later. Thought it was great.
Dominik falling out of a shark cage and being held on, because I generally thought he was going to fall head first to the floor. So for me, it's going to have to take the MG moment.
Yep.
Match of the night, no surprise here.
Hell in a Cell. Yeah.
Hell in a Cell. Hell in a Cell easy. For about all the nostalgic feels as well. And it was a 5-star match, so Hell in a Cell. Entrance of the night.
Jimmy Uso got a massive pop. Like it was like I was so happy he got that pop.
Yeah, that's a good one. I'm going to go with The Rock, just because of the fact that I also got a massive pop as well. But before that, it was Dominik for me. MVP of the show.
I really struggled for this one, and for me, I actually went with Drew. I think the torture that he put his body through and what he did in that match, like you said, the Claymore where he lands his back on the steel steps, and even like I said, the being busted open and the amount of blood he lost. I think he put on one hell of he put his body through a lot last night. So I'll give it to Drew McIntyre.
Yep, can't disagree with that. Drew McIntyre for me as well, for the exact same reasons you've just said. Final rating of Bad Blood 2024 out of 10, please.
4 out of 10.
7 for me. There we go. We've got our ratings through then of what we thought.
Yeah, I mean, dude, personally, Hell in a Cell and essentially the ending of the other 4 matches is the only thing I'd watch this for.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. That's fair. I would watch this show again. I think it was a fun time. I was really happy with the fact that Bad Blood is back as well. I don't know, I started thinking to myself, I want to see some more nostalgic shows come back. I know we're getting Saturday night's main event as well, so it's just like, yeah, I'm feeling the direction with it. I don't know. Maybe I was having too much of a good time. I don't know. But they were, like I say, it's not a perfect show by any stretch of the imagination, but I think it's an eventful show. And I think for me, coming out the other side, that's something I'm into more than necessarily like, oh, there's 5-star matches on this.
Yeah, we said this in the preview that this is a very story-based show. Like, I wasn't expecting 5-star wrestling classics in this show at all. It was just very heavily driven story show for me. So I suppose it did deliver on that aspect. But like I said, I just think it did lack a lot of match quality for me, which is something they don't normally do. I at least normally get some really like half decent matches, and I just don't think we got that last night.
That's fair. That's fair indeed. Well, let's turn our attention then to Monday Night Raw, shall we? Then we're going to go for a quick preview and predictions of the 3 matches that have been announced for the show. Let's start off with a good old-fashioned Donnybrook match we've got with Sheamus taking on Pete Dunne. This has actually become Ireland versus UK. Sheamus actually made it that, so by default, we have to go for Pete Dunne. But at the same time, though, sensibleness here. Pete Dunne has already beaten Sheamus. I can't see anything but a Sheamus win here.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think I'm bored of a Donnybrook match. I think we've seen so many of them in the last 2 years. Like, even when they were doing the whole, what was the name of their faction?
Brawling Brutes.
Brawling Brutes, sorry, yeah. I think like every other week we were getting Donnybrook matches, and I'm kind of like, I get that it's obviously meant to be because it's Sheamus's thing. But I agree with you. I think Sheamus is going to win. I'm just sick of seeing Donnybrook matches.
Yeah, I mean, I think it fits the narrative for these two, but I kind of agree with you. I think it's been overplayed, but I think it does suit the narrative for this match. But as well as Pete Dunne has been actually booked recently, I think Sheamus is taking that dub. But let's move on then to the Intercontinental Championship. We've got main event Jey Uso defending the title against Xavier Woods. Xavier obviously picking a win over Rey Mysterio this past week on Monday Night Raw, obviously taking Rey's mask off as well in the process to get a sort of shockingly slightly heelish victory. Kofi's got him the title shot after Jey Uso actually offered Kofi the title shot, which Xavier was a bit like, nah, about you again. But then when Kofi had said to him, well, no, I got it for you. And he's like, oh, thanks, man. That's really, really cool. How Woods is going to react and blame it on Kofi when Woods is meant to be calling the shots when Woods does not get the job done here and loses to Jey Uso?
Yeah, dude, I'm so on board for this Xavier Woods story at the minute, and dude, it's pretty obvious that Jay's going to retain. But I'm just really interested to see how they do this breakup. Like, Is it a case of they actually are going to break them up, or they build into, fingers crossed, hopefully Big E's return, if it's a possibility. Maybe Big E is the savior and keeps them all together. But dude, otherwise I'm all on board for it. And like you said, seeing how Xavier Woods is going to react to this loss, I'm just so into at the minute.
Low key, this is becoming one of the best stories in WWE right now, the New Day story.
Absolutely.
Like, I am willing to stick my neck out on that, and I think people will disagree, but I do think what they're doing with Woods and Kofi has been awesome. And I actually think that if they are going to do the breakup, it's going to be on the 10-year anniversary of the group.
Yeah, it just almost sounds perfect, doesn't it?
And I think that could be a case then that Biggie could return just to try and say, no, stay together. And I think that's a case of when you can just play something in the narrative of like, maybe Woods is willing to harm Biggie, for example, where Kofi then needs to make the save, that sort of thing could be interesting to see. But at the same time, I would love to see E make a return. Apparently, E did say that he's got a checkup in the next 3 to 6 months, and that's when he'll be able to determine whether he can make a return to the ring or not.
Okay, that's always positive to hear. I mean, yeah, maybe Woods versus Kofi is, like I said, possibly in line for Survivor Series, or maybe it's a Saudi show match. But even though, but the idea that you just put across there, the fact that Kofi almost has to step in the way and stop E from being attacked by Xavier, and then that's what leads to that match. I'm so into it.
I like this as well. It's been said from CD. Kofi accidentally costing Woods the match.
Even better.
Roll it all up into a ball and give it to us. I'm really excited for how that's going to play out. I think that's certainly one of the more interesting stories on Raw right now. And obviously, to finish off, there is just a small matter of a World Heavyweight Championship match to look forward to. The Ring General, Gunther, taking on Sami Zayn. Obviously, the story is quite simple. Sami Zayn is the one that ended Gunther's longest reign as Intercontinental champion. He's still the only person on the main roster to have defeated Gunther. Therefore, he is the perfect second candidate to go for the World Heavyweight Championship after Randy Orton, because Gunther then can finally put Sami down and move on to be a full-on pledged main eventer. However, I have to give props to something that WWE have made this match even more interesting without realizing it, because booking by design, when they did Jey Uso versus Braun Breaker, I said there was no way Braun Breaker was losing that title. It was a young gun that's going to be one of the next big things in WWE, who's been booked to perfection, and it was his second title defense. Yet he still lost to Jey Uso, gave everybody that moment. And it just gives you that reminder that WWE can do anything at any time. The show does not always have to be as predictable as it looks. And obviously, with the play out of what happened at Bad Blood, we could be getting Gunther versus Goldberg somewhere down the line. Could Sami get the job done on Raw?
3% botch. There's a 3% chance Sami gets that match, but he wins that match. Like, that's it. You get 3% from me. It's always going to be minimal chance. But you're right. They've booked it really well. And this is what I said in the preview as well. They're doing the right thing by making the Raw and SmackDown either side of a pay-per-view important. Like, everyone knows that, like obviously it's come out, the reason why this match is on Raw is to drive ticket sales for the Raw show. It's exactly what they need to do as a business plan, is make those shows either side of a pay-per-view special and make people want to, like, we just had a triple threat ladder match on SmackDown as the main event for the tag team titles. Making these shows feel special is what they needed to do. It's very clever. But I would be, honestly, I think it would be shock of the year for me if Sami wins this Monday.
It would be for me as well, but at the same time, I'm thinking, imagine Sami Zayn. He does the Crown Jewel shows, and I must admit, before they announced this champion versus champion thing, this was my original prediction. I thought Sami was going to win by DQ. Therefore, they'd have to do the match in Saudi, because of the fact then Saudi is where Sami is undefeated, has all the momentum as well with defeating Gunther twice. You do the title one more time. I thought, boom, this is all set in stone. But now they went and said, no, we're doing title versus title, or for this crown jewel title, and no titles are on the line, but it's champion versus champion. That's what I should be saying. So yeah, we'll probably get Cody versus Gunther, because I mean, to be fair, that's a dream match on paper, and I think it's an awesome match when they've had chemistry and ring together before. I've always thought I cannot wait to see that match. Looks like we'll get that at Crown Jewel. I think Gunther defeats Sami Zayn here, because I think if Gunther was to lose the title, then he then needs to win it back. Cody versus Sami sounds like a fun match. KO versus Sami sounds an even more fun match. But I don't think we're going to get where those guys win titles and then have to drop them again. No, it's not happening. It's Cody versus Gunther. So Gunther will win, in my opinion.
Yeah, as I said, I can't, like, as much as I like the sound of KO versus Sami at Saudi Arabia, I think it's going to be Cody Gunther.
I think as well. So Gunther gets the win from us. Last couple of comments, and we will wrap things up here today. Gunther versus Bron Breakker for the World Heavyweight Championship will be interesting, because remember, Bron Breakker beat Gunther to retain the NXT Championship in NXT. He certainly did indeed, and he has said he will be coming for that title some point further down the line, so I have to keep an eye out for that one. CD says that Cody versus Gunther shouldn't be happening right now, because Cody has already taken 2 pinfall losses, one to The Rock and another to Solo Sikoa. Gunther can't lose right now. They have a champion versus champion idea where it will just make one world champion look weak. The World Heavyweight Championship feels equal to the Undisputed Championship right now, so this Crown Jewel idea may ruin it. Your thoughts?
This is the problem that they're going to have with this dynamic now, and it's like I said earlier, I think that again it takes away from the whole idea of Survivor Series and Clash of Champions. But Saudi Arabia is a spectacle show, and if you're going to put a spectacle show on, you need to have the biggest stars. And I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't be surprised if they do screwy finishes for both the matches. Like I think someone is going to lose a title in the women's match between now and then, because I very much doubt we're going to get Nia versus Liv, heel versus heel. Doesn't make sense in my eyes. Like I don't see where the draw is. So I think either Tiffany may very well cash in within the next 4 weeks, or Liv's going to lose it to someone like I couldn't even tell at this minute, because I don't think there's anyone that's being booked highly well on the Raw brand at the minute. So maybe Becky Lynch comes back and wins it off of her or something. I don't know. We get Becky Nia at Saudi Arabia. Who knows? But yeah, it's one of these things. Like, how do you book, unless there's a stipulation? This is the problem you're going to have with this dynamic. And Gunther being Gunther, I think Gunther could. To be fair, I think Gunther can take a loss from Cody Rhodes. I don't think Cody Rhodes can take a loss from Gunther. Because I think Gunther, like Cody's been on this 2-year journey to win this title. And I think if you have someone like Gunther come in and take the title off, or beat him in general, I don't know. I think Gunther can survive a loss more than what Cody could.
Yeah, I think Gunther could take the loss on this one, and it would just show that, I mean, Gunther's not unstoppable. Therefore, it makes matches then not seem so predictable for him moving forward. Because if you do have Gunther, say, champion all the way to WrestleMania, you do start getting to a pattern where it's like, yeah, he wins, and it's just like it becomes a bit, it feels like it's obvious. So I like the idea of like where you can sort of make the unpredictable factor if this unstoppable person takes a loss. But it's interesting. I think CD raises a lot of really good points in this. I think there is an opportunity where you can make one of your champions look weak accidentally, which I think is something you shouldn't necessarily look to do. Obviously, the Crown Jewel Championship is what it is. I think it's a great marketing idea for that audience, and I think that audience will eat and lap it up. I think the rest of the world is not going to enjoy it as much. But it should lead to a couple of fun matches, hopefully. I mean, Gunther versus Rhodes, regardless of what the result ends up being, I think it's a fun match.
The problem I have with it as well is I feel that the title itself is going to be talked about for the first week and then forgotten until next year, when we all sit there and go, oh yeah, we forgot that's the thing again. Like, it's exactly the same as how Nia Jax came out last night. Don't remember the ring announcer announcing her as Queen of the Ring, just as WWE Women's Champion. And I'm kind of like, you kind of made a big deal out of King and Queen of the Ring earlier on, and the fact that it's already kind of been forgotten, and almost as if the gimmick is no longer part of her character is, do you know what I mean? I think it's stupid, because we was already looking forward to a Queen Nia, and it's like almost like no one cares about it now.
Thing is, they still mention her as the queen on TV a little bit here and there. Obviously, Gunther's never really carried the king moniker so much, but I'm okay with them not wearing the crowns because I always think it's a bit goofy anyway. But that's just my personal preference and taste. But like, yeah, I get where you're coming from though. Literally, they'll mention it on Raw or SmackDown once, and yeah, that title will go missing for a year, and it is literally a spectacle for that night, for that show, and that's going to be it. But I think that's going to be it from us as well. Thank you everyone for your comments and for your interactions for the last hour and 20 minutes with us on this channel. We've really enjoyed hearing your takes from Bad Blood, as well as it's been great to hear the thoughts from NXT, and hopefully you've enjoyed my takes as well. If you've enjoyed the video, make sure to hit that like button, share with a friend, and subscribe. NXT, great to have you involved as always.
Dude, always a pleasure. Hopefully, I will enjoy the next one a lot better than this one. But yeah, sorry, I don't know. Do you know what? I'm going to put it down to the fact that it started early and I missed the first matches. A reason why I probably don't like this as much. So I'm going to say that's the reason I don't like this show that much.
If you came in a bad mood, it's not going to help. You know what I mean? Like, and then you get a couple of questionable decisions kick in. It's like, nah, not happy. But one thing is though, like, because when I try and go into these things live, you can watch it from the start. Did you not click in to go on the start? Did it just take you straight to where it was?
I'm very much a guy that is, I must watch, if it's live, I must watch it regardless of where it is in the show. I cannot play catch up because it's almost like FOMO, I suppose, like fear of missing out. Like I'd rather watch the rest of it live because I've already missed it. I can go back and watch it at any point, whereas I'd rather watch the now stuff live. Yeah, sorry.
That's fair. I think that's fair indeed. But let's know what you think about Bad Blood in the comments below. Thank you all for watching. Look after yourselves and each other, and we'll see you for the next one. And keep an eye out because there's going to be a lot of videos dropping in the next couple of weeks on this channel. Thanks for watching. Take care. See ya for the next one.